Hi, CAT 24 DILR Slot 2 paper. So basically you need to go to the past CAT papers purely because one, there's some repetition over the years, not with the exact set, but maybe with the idea, pattern, the way you put the data, etc. Second, knowing the best methods for the previous examination will give you some idea as to how to approach the different sets for DILR. So let's look at it. So I have scored 100% till 7 times in DILR as far as CAT is concerned. Even in CAT 2024, I was able to score all the score 66 or 66 in the DILR section. So fairly comfortable with DILR. The key in cracking the DILR is to be able to represent the data properly, interpret, and then try to solve. Knowing which set to solve, which set not to solve also becomes extremely important. And trying to reduce the time to solve each set is what the key is. Anyway, let's go to try to solve this. So they are given a walkway which is there, okay, and there are 3 lakes given to you. So you have been given lakes. So lake. Apart from that, gated area, different points of walkway they are given. They are given a measurement. Now you can redraw the whole thing, but drawing a whole thing takes a little time. So if you're planning to solve only 1 or 2 sets, maybe you can spend time. But if you want to really solve fast, then drawing whole thing again becomes a little cumbersome. But yes, try to do picturize and try to solve as far as possible. But there are 4 questions in a set. The 2 approaches out here. If you are good at visualization and visualize and try to solve. If you're not good at visualization, my suggestion is draw the diagram on the paper and then try to solve. Just to be safe, because every mark counts and the way you solve becomes extremely important. Anyway, they're given all the measurement which are there. There's only one entry or exit point which is C, right? Them residences which are there, A, H and M and L are residence areas, so this is the location where the residence is. Post office is P and bank is B, so you have B, bank and post office B. So one residence whose house is located at L needs to visit the post office as well as bank. Minimum distance he has to walk starting from the residence. And if you look at, I can either go to bank first, post office and then back, or I can go to post office, bank and then back. So look at each case and solve. So if I want to go to bank to L to, let's say, post office first. So closest distance from L to post office will be LKOP. I would rather take the slants KO purely because that will be shorter than going straight lines KN and NO. Okay, when you want to go from L to P, because otherwise I will go to LM and MP, but that will be straight lines. But going slant would be closer to go. You'll walk a lesser distance, like a shortcut which is there in the path which you go. So which means I know KL, which is 300, right, which is MN. KO, if you look at now, KN is 400, NO is 300. 300, 400 by Pythagoras theorem it becomes 500. So you know KO is 500 and you know 150. So this becomes 950. So we get 950 from K to P. Now P to B, so P to B will be PI, again I take a slant G and B. If we look at PI is 400, IG again Pythagoras theorem, IJ is 150, JG is 200, 150, 200, 250 by Pythagoras, 3, 4, 5 triplet. You should be comfortable with triplet, it helps. And G to B is 400, so you get 1050. And then bank back to L, you can directly go, there is no slant, so you can directly go BD and DL. BD, if you look at 600, DL is 600, so you basically get 1200. So if you add it up, you will get 3200 first option. Can it be done reverse? I mean, if you go reverse, first bank and then post office. To go from L to bank, the closest is 1200. To go from bank to post office, again 1050, go the same route back, I mean BGIP, and then from post office to L you go POKL, which is same as this. You get the same distance, 3200. So 3200 is the minimum distance. So taking the slant becomes easier to solve as such. Here knowing Pythagoras and being able to picturize will become much easier to solve if you can. Next, one person enters the gated area, okay, and decide to walk as much possible before leaving the area without walking along the path more than once, and always walking next to a lake. So he's walking next to a lake, so he has to walk on the path next to a lake. He can cross point multiple times, but path he has to cross once. So let me see if there is a way where I can go through all the parts that covers the lake. So if I go to CF, okay, then basically to go to FE, I'll have to go G. I mean, look at any possible option. So I know I can go to CD, I can go to DE, I can go to EF. I've covered this part. I have to go to FC, which I can go by returning part. So I'll cover the next triangle. FG I'll go, GJ I'll go, JK I'll go. Now before returning back to C, I will go to KL, LM, NM, NK, and then I can go to KF and FC. So if you look at this whole part of it, I've gone to all the sides of the lake which are there. So which means the total distance I've covered is nothing but the sum of the perimeters of the 3 lakes which are there, because I've covered all the sides of a lake. C, D, E, F, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, and KFC. So there can't be more distance than this. So this is the maximum. So if you look at perimeter of the first C, D, E, F is 1400. I mean 2 into 400 plus 300 is 1400. Perimeter of similarly K, L, M, N is also 1400. Right, 2 into 300 plus 400, 1400. Perimeter of G, F, K, J, 200 plus 300 into 2000. So when you solve it, it becomes 3800. First option. That's the answer. Right. So I have to look out a part which covers all the sides of a lake. I can make out a part. You can go a little trial and error, but you can make out a part that can cover all. What I've done is one way of solving. There are other ways of solving it also. Right. Should be. So in that case, work on that and go. So I can also go to CF, FG, GJ, JK, KL, LM, MN, NK, KF, then E, then D, then C. I'll still cover all the sides of a rectangle. I'll still get the answer. Okay, one resident walks within the gated area starting from A. So he's starting from A and returning to A without going to any point other than A more than once. So each point only once. What's the maximum distance you can walk? So since I have to go maximum distance and I have to go to all the points, I would rather avoid taking the slant. I'll try to go to all the points as far as possible and take without taking a slant. So how can I go? So look at different options which are possible. So I can go to A, B, let's say. B, G I can go. G, F, F, C, D. Then go to M, go to N. Then I can go to K, J, O, P and A. That's one route I can take. Second route I can take is I can go to A, B. Instead of going to G, I can go to J maybe. J, K, back to C, D, then go straight to M because I can't go anywhere else. I can't go to F and K because F and K already used. Can't go to F and K. Now I again can't go back to K and J. So I have to go back to P and then back to A because I've already used them. Look, the center 4 points has been used out here. When I go to from B to J to K to C, I've used the center 4 points. So I can't go back to center 4 points. In the first case, I'm going back to center 4 points in 2 ways. So that's one. Third, so I go to A to D straight. I have to go to center 4 points, but I'll go from E. I can go to E, G, J, L, M, P and back to A. Or I can go to A, D, E, F, K, L, then M, P and A. Now M, P, I go to M, P, I, go to J, G, H and A. The key is to try to cover all the points. So I'm covering all the points in these 4 cases which are possible. So once because I can either, because I have to cover these center 4 points. The center 4 points, if you look at, can be covered by going from B or can be gone from C. Then go from N also if possible and I. So therefore there are 4 cases possible. Therefore. Now find the distance. So if I'm going from A, B and then try, look, if you look at, I'm traveling horizontal, vertical, everything I'm traveling. So I'm traveling here 750 on this side, 750 on this side, 1000 vertically and 1000 here. So total I'm anyway calculating 3500. That too I'm anyway traveling. Okay, A, D, M, P, A. Now in middle how much I'm traveling? So I'm going to BG and going back to CF out here. Here I'm going to KN and then coming back to JA. So 4, 8, 12, 16. So I'm traveling 1600 more. So it becomes 5100. So I'm going to BG. GF is part of BC. Instead of BC, I'm going to GF. So I'm not counting that. And then coming back to FC. Here I go to NK. KJ is same as NO. So I'm not counting that. So KJ and then coming back to JO. Here again 3500 is part of it, the circumference. But here I'm going to B, J, K and back to C. So B to J, if you look at, is 600 and going back 600 is 1200. So this becomes 4700, smaller. Now going back again 3500 will anyway come. But here I'm going to CG and coming back from JL. Again 600 plus 600, 1200 more. 4700. That's 1200 comes because of EG and then coming back from JL. Here 1200 comes because of BJ and then coming back to KC. Now coming to last, here also it will be 3500, but I'm going to EF and then come to KL, which is 600, and then I'm going to IJ and coming to GH, 300. So 4400. No, so the maximum is 5500. So this is a little key. This takes a little time. So my suggestion is, if this is one of question which normally takes time, you can keep it for the last, or you can roughly calculate and come back and confirm it. That's one way of solving. There could be one or question which are time breakers, which at that point you can solve. But if you feel it's too much of time consuming and not sure, come back to it later. Next, visitors for morning walks are allowed to enter long as you pass any residences. So you can't go to H and A. You can't go to L and M. These are the points which you cannot go. Or the maximum distance you can't cross any point more than once. So let's start. Let's start with C. So if I go to F, then if I go to E, my point D will not get covered. Right? I'll have to come from D or I'll have to come. So to cover D, I would rather go to D. I prefer cover all the points that will be maximum distance which I have to cover. So C, D, if I go to D, E, I can't go to L. So I have to come back. So I'll come back C, D, E, F. Now from F I can go to K or I can go to G. So if I'm coming to F, so while coming back, returned, I'll come from BC and it has to be GBC. I'll go from that route also. C, B, G. This is a return route. I'm going to both the routes so that I can find a maximum distance. So C, B, G is a return route. But I'll not go to GF, then my route will be short. I have to go to maximum route as possible. And I can't go to H. So from G I'll go to J so that I get maximum distance. From F I'll go to K so that I don't meet. Now J and K. From J I'll go to I so that I don't come towards K. I go away from K. From K I'll go to N. From I I'll go to P. And then from P you can meet to N. Right. So this is the distance. So C, D, E, F, K, N, P, I, J, B, C. So I go to C to D, which is 300, D to E 400, right? Then I again come back to 300, right? Then I go to E to N. E to N will be 600. 600. So I'll write down the whole distance which is there. So I already have 300 plus 400 plus 300. Okay, there's a shorter way of doing, but I'm just writing this down. Plus K to N is F to N. F to N together becomes 600. Plus N to P I have to come, which is 550. For 3 and 450, sorry. P to I, which is 400. I to J, 150. J to B, which will be 600 further. And B to C, which will be 300. Add this. Or if you look at it, I'm going towards D point, I'm going to this corner D point, then I'm going back to P and then coming back to C horizontally. So I'm crossing horizontal distance twice, going to D, going to then back to A, that is P, and then coming back to C. So I'm covering horizontal twice. So that means I'm covering 750 plus 750 twice. Same way vertically I'm going all the way back to N, that is CM I'm going and then coming back. So which means I'm covering vertically 1000 and 1000 twice. So 3500 is what you get. Which you'll get the same as out here. 300 plus 400 plus 300 is 1000. 2050, right? 3050, 3200, 3500. So you'll get 3500. Either you add all this or you can make out that horizontal and vertical you're covering twice in the whole distance when you're traveling. So total distance becomes 3500. That is the answer here, right? So here again key, you can write down if you want properly the whole diagram and then solve it. I mean, depends on how much, but it's a little time consuming this sum. So I would rather keep it for later compared to the other sets. So my suggestion, go through the sets and then figure out which sets to solve. Pick up the sets which are shorter and try to solve that first and then take a longer set a little bit later. Right. Thank you.